now that we are done with multiplication, let us proceed with the last operation on radicals, which is division. So for us to get the quotient of two radicals of the same order, we use the law nth root of A divided by the nth root of B is equivalent to the nth root of A divided by B, given that A is greater than 0 and B is greater than 0. First example, we have the square root of 45 divided by the square root of 5. Since they contain the same indices, pwede natin siyang isulat as the square root of 45 over 5. And then simply, 45 divided by 5, that is 9. So we have square root of 9. And square root of 9 is equivalent to 3. Next example, we have the cube root of 24 m raised to 7 all over 3m. Since nasa isa na siyang radical expression, let us simplify the radicand. So, sulat mo natin the cube root of 24 divided by 3, that's 8. And then, we have m raised to 6 using the quotient rule. Since the radicand is a perfect cube, using the perfect nth powers, we can rewrite this as the cube root of 8 is 2 and the cube root of m raised to 6 is m squared. Therefore, we have 2m squared. We can also divide radical expressions by rationalizing the denominator. So, third example, we have the cube root of 20 divided by the cube root of 18. Okay? So, para ma-reduce muna natin ang ating radicand, isulat natin siya sa isang radical expression. We have the cube root of 20 divided by 18. Simply, this is the cube root of 10 all over 9. And then, paghiwalayin ulit natin siya, we have the cube root of 10 divided by the cube root of 9. We have learned from the previous lesson that we cannot consider a radical expression as a simplified form if the denominator contains a radical expression. So, dito, gagamit tayo ng rationalization. So, to rationalize our denominator, we have the cube root of 10 divided by the cube root of 9. So, we have to multiply our denominator with a radical expression kung saan gagawin nating perfect cube ang radicand. However, 9 is a perfect square. And when we get the square root of 9, that's 3. So, kapag pinag-multiply natin si 3 kay 9, we'll get a perfect cube. So, therefore, we have cube root of 3 sa denominator, and then para hindi maibo ang ating value, gagawin din natin ang cube root of 3 or i-multiply din natin ang cube root of 3 sa numerator. So, let's proceed with the simplification. We have the cube root of 10 times 3, that's 30, all over the cube root of 27. Cube root of 30 divided by the cube root of 3 cube. And then, gamit ang laws of radicals, we can cancel this. So, this will give us the cube root of 30 all over 3. Another example under rationalization is the square root of 24m squared n all over the square root of 3mn squared. Let us put it sa isang radical expression. We have the square root of 24m squared n over 3mn squared. So, we have 24 divided by 3, that's 8, and then m squared over m, that's m. However, for n, since the exponent of the numerator is less than the exponent of the denominator according sa quotient rule, isusulat natin ang base sa denominator and then doon natin isusubtract ang exponents. So, 2 minus 1, that's 1. So, we have square root of 8m all over n. Now, kapag i-distribute natin ang ating square root sa numerator at denominator, we will have a denominator that contains a radical expression. At kapag ganito, we will use the rationalization. So, we have the square root of 8m all over the square root of n. For us, to remove the radical expression sa numerator, sa denominator, we will multiply square root of n by square root of n, and then ganun din ang gagawin natin sa numerator. Then let's multiply. We have the square root of 8mn all over the square root of n squared. And then, let's simplify by laws of radicals. Square root of 8 is 2, square root of 2, and then mn all over according sa laws of radicals again, pwede natin itong i-cancel since equal ang index at exponent ng radicand. So we will get n. Therefore, our final answer is 2 square root of 2mn all over n. For the next example, we have negative 6 all over 5 plus square root of 7. Okay. So, gusto kong mapansin ninyo na meron tayong kaibang example dito. Bakit? Because on the denominator, it contains a radical expression. Therefore, hindi pa siya simplified. At the same time, merong kasama ang radical expression na isa pang term, which makes our denominator a binomial. Now, anong ginagawa natin kapag meron tayong binomial that contains a radical expression sa ating denominator? So, rationalization is used when the term in the denominator contains a radical. However, there can also be binomials in the denominator that contain radicals. So, in this case, we have to rationalize to eliminate radicals in the denominator, and then we will apply the conjugate of binomial. So, paano ginagamit ang conjugate of binomial? So, for the conjugate of binomial, for example, we have A plus B. And for us to get the conjugate of A plus B, that is equivalent to the same terms, A and then B, and then babalik rin lang natin yung sign na positive as negative. Then therefore, we get the conjugate of A plus B, which is A minus B. Now, when we multiply the conjugates of a binomial, we will get the difference of two squares. So in this case, that is equivalent to A squared minus B squared. So, ngayon, i-apply natin ang conjugate of a binomial sa ganitong example ng division ng radicals para ma-eliminate natin ang ating radical expression sa denominator. So, for this, let us multiply it sa kanyang conjugate. 5 plus square root of 7, we have 5, and then square root of 7, dahil kinopya natin yung terms, and then kabaliktaran ng positive is negative. And then, ganun din sa numerator dahil hindi natin babaguhin ang ating value. So, we are actually multiplying this by 1. We have negative 6 times 5 minus square root of 7 para ka lang nagmumultiply ng binomial sa isang monomial factor. So, we have negative 6 times 5 plus negative 6 times negative 7. Negative square root of 7 all over. Okay, so for this, sabi natin, we'll actually get the difference of two squares. So, we square the first term, we have 5 squared. So, for the last term, we have square root of 7 quantity squared, and then we get the difference. So, simply, negative 6 times 5, that's negative 30, and then negative 6 times negative square root of 7, that is positive 6 square root of 7 all over 25 minus the square root of 7 squared is equivalent to 7 since we have to cancel our index and exponent. So we have 7 and then simply negative 30 plus 6 square root of 7 all over 25 minus 7, that is 18. Now, so if you can notice, negative 30, 6, and 18 ay merong common factor. At hindi natin siya pwedeng basta i-cancel lang since sa numerator, we have a binomial. So, para maging reasonable ang pagka-cancel natin, pwede natin kuhanin ang common monomial factor ng numerator and then tsaka tayo mag-cancel. So, for the common monomial factor of negative 30 and 6, we have 6. Negative 30 divided by 6, that's negative 5. And then 6 divided by 6, that's 1. So, simply, that is plus square root of 7 all over 18. Now, that's the time na pwede tayong mag-cancel. So, we divide this. Ito yung magiging 1 and then this will become 3. Therefore, our final answer is negative 5 plus square root of 7 all over 3. Now, let us have another example under dividing binomials wherein sa ganitong case naman, ang binomial ay parehas nasa numerator at nasa denominator. So, huwag kayong malilito dahil parehas na merong radical expression. Always remember na ang restriction lang natin ay nasa denominator. We cannot have a radical expression sa denominator. Therefore, yung denominator pa rin ang ating i-rationalize. So, let us multiply this with the conjugate of the denominator. So that is 7. And then 2 square root of 5. Kabaliktaran ng positive is negative. And then 7 minus 2 square root of 5. Now, let us multiply. Since we will multiply two binomials, we will use the distribution property. So, 5 times 7, multiplying the first terms. Then, let's multiply the outer terms. That's 5 multiplied by negative 2 square root of 5. And then, inner terms, we have negative 3 square root of 5 times 7. Let's extend the fraction bar. And then plus the last terms, we have negative 3 square root of 5 multiplied by negative 2 square root of 5. Again, when we are multiplying the conjugates of a binomial, we will get the difference of two squares. So we have 7 squared minus 2 square root of 5 quantity squared. Okay? Then let's simplify. 5 times 7, that's 35. Plus 5 times negative 2 square root of 5, that's negative 10 square root of 5. Negative 3 square root of 5 times 7, that's negative 21 square root of 5. Then negative 3 square root of 5 times negative 2 square root of 5, that is simply negative 3 times negative 2, that's positive 6, and then square root of 25. All over 7 squared, that is 49, minus, we have 2 squared, that is 4, multiplied by the square root of 25. Then, simply, so, we have 35. So, hindi ko muna isusunod to. Ang isusunod ko, yung last term, y. Kasi kung mapapansin nyo, when we simplify square root of 25, we will get 5. And when we multiply 5 by 6, that's 30. So, we have plus 30. Then, we combine these two radicals, negative 10 minus 21, that's negative 31. Then, copy the common radical, square root of 5, all over 49 minus square root of 25 is 5 times 4, that's 20. That's 20. Simply, this is equivalent to 35 plus 30, that's 65. And then minus 31 square root of 5 all over 49 minus 20, that is 29. Now, kung mapapansin nyo, 65, negative 31, and 29 ay wala ng common factor, then therefore, ito na ang kanyang final answer. So, since we are done with dividing radicals with the same indices, ano naman ang gagawin natin when we are dividing radicals with different indices or orders? So, same is true with multiplication. We will use the same process, wherein we have to transform our radical expression sa ating exponential form and then apply the concept of the least common multiple. We have the cube root of 4 all over square root of 2. Since we have different indices, we will write 4 raised to 1/3 all over 2 raised to 1/2. Sulat natin yung bases and then get the least common multiple of the denominators of the exponents of our given. So, 3 and 2, ang kanilang LCM is 6. So, isulat natin ang 6 dito. 6 divided by 2, that's 3 times 1. So, we get 3. And then, 6 divided by 3, that's 2 times 1. That's 2. Now, i-factor out natin yung 1/6 para mas mabilis nating ma-evaluate ang ating bases. So, this will become 4 squared all over 2 cube quantity raised to 1/6. So, hindi naman nagbago ang value. Nag-factor out lang tayo ng common exponent. And then, let's evaluate numerator and denominator. We have 16 over 8. And then, quantity raised to 1/6. Then, pwede nating isulat ang 16 over 8 as 2, then raised to 1/6. Simply, this is equivalent to the 6th root of 2. So, for the last example, under the division of radicals, we have the cube root of x squared all over the 4th root of y. So, let us rewrite this sa kanilang exponential form. We have x raised to 2/3 all over y raised to 1/4. Okay, so let us get the LCM of 3 and 4. Simply, that is 12. So, copy lang natin yung bases. And then, we write 12 as the new denominator of our exponent. So, 12 divided by 4, that's 3 times 1, that's 3. And then 12 divided by 3, that's 4 times 2, have 8. Now, ibabalik natin siya sa radical expression. Hindi na natin kailangan i-factor out ang 1 over 12 kasi ang kaibahan nito from the previous example, ang x and y are variables. Sa kanina naman kasi, they are constant. So, pwede siyang i-evaluate. So, dito, diretso na tayo sa radical expression. So, we have the 12th root of x raised to 8 all over the 12th root of y cubed. We have come up with an answer wherein we still have a radical expression sa denominator. That means we need to rationalize our denominator. So, we have to get y raised to 12 para makancel ang ating index. Now, meron tayong y cube. So, anong i-multiply natin kay y cube para maging y raised to 12? Then, that is y raised to 9. And then, copy natin yung ating radical expression. Then, same is true with the numerator. Simply, that is equivalent to the 12th root of x raised to 8, y raised to 9, all over the 12th root of y raised to 12. So, pwede natin itong i-cancel. Simply, our final answer is the 12th root of x raised to 8, y raised to 9, all over y. This ends lesson 4. So, congratulations grade 9. Tapos na tayo sa first 4 topics ng school year 2020-2021. So, I hope through this video, you were able to further understand the lesson and somehow nasagot nito ang ilang mga tanong ninyo sa ating module. Kung sakaling meron pa kayong mga tanong na gustong i-address, we can always answer your questions during our synchronous meetings. So again, I hope that through this video, you were able to think, wonder, and explore mathematics through the operations on radicals. Thank you.